were gathering and getting their places this morning, we were talking a little bit about Hamilton, and I watched it yesterday with my family, of course I did, right? And you know, it was interesting, and I think what it brought up for me, as it does every time I watch this work of art, is just the complexity of the human life experience. And as we kind of follow this character, Alexander Hamilton, through his life, and the heartbreak, and the mistakes, and the ups and the downs, and ultimately, like, life bringing you to your knees and asking for forgiveness for the, you know, the things that we've created along the way, knowingly and unknowingly, and the hearts that we've broken. And I guess for me, it really brings up the necessity to have compassion for all of our life experience and all that we're going through, and what people can see and what they can't see, if that makes sense. And so as we open up our practice this morning, I'd like to share a writing by David White, and it's called Heartbreak. And it's been on my mind these days. So you're welcome to just arrive at your seat, or recline, or take any comfortable position where you can open up to these words this morning. Heartbreak is unpreventable, the natural outcome of caring for people and things over which we have no control, of holding in our affections those who inevitably move beyond our line of sight. Even the longest, strongest marriage has had its heart broken many times just in the act of staying together. Heartbreak begins the moment we are asked to let go, but cannot. In other words, it colors and inhabits and magnifies each and every day. Heartbreak is not a visitation, but a path that human beings follow through even the most average life. Heartbreak is an indication of our sincerity in a love relationship, in a life's work, in trying to learn a musical instrument, in the attempt to shape a better, more generous self. Heartbreak is the beautifully helpless side of love and affection, and is just as much an essence and emblem of care as the spiritual athlete's quick but abstract ability to let go. Heartbreak has its own way of inhabiting time, and its own beautiful and trying patience in coming and going. Heartbreak is how we mature, yet we use the word heartbreak as if it only occurs when things have gone wrong. An unrequited love, a shattered dream, a lost child before their time. Heartbreak, we hope, is something we hope we can avoid, something to guard against, a chasm to be carefully looked for and then walked around. The hope is to find a way to place our feet where the elemental forces of life will keep us in the manner to which we want to be accustomed, and which will keep us from the losses that all other human beings have experienced without exception since the beginning of conscious time. But heartbreak may be the very essence of being human, of being on the journey from here to there, and of coming to care deeply for what we find along the way. If heartbreak is inevitable and inescapable, our only choice might be to look for it and make friends with it, to see it as our constant and instructive companion, and even perhaps in the depth of its impact as well as in its hindsight, to see it as its own reward. Heartbreak asks us not to look for an alternative path, because there is no alternative path. It is a deeper introduction to what we love and have loved, an inescapable and often beautiful question, something or someone who has been with us all along, asking us to be ready to let go of the way we are holding things, and preparation perhaps for the last letting go of all. So as we open up into our practice this morning, feeling into your own heart and just noticing what is there to be felt today. Without judgment or story or needing to change. You feel the breath expanding and contracting and opening up and broadening at your heart center. And if you haven't already, can you begin your Ujjayi pranayama? And gently engaging the muscles at the back of your throat. And as you draw your next full breath in, let's go ahead and extend the arms out wide and all the way up alongside the ears. And then hands together, gathering the hands at the heart. And again, like that, arms reach out wide and extend all the way up. And exhale, hands back, heart center. And one more like that. Everybody stretch up tall, lengthen and lift, reach to the sky. And then hands together, heart center. And we're going to shift forward to the hands and the knees. And so if you've been sitting on a block or a bolster, you can put that to the side for now. And let's start to move a little bit here through cat-cow. So as you inhale, lift through the tailbone, open through the heart, open the front body. And then exhale, round through the spine, tuck tail, chin to chest. And then inhale, open, and exhale, round. Good. Will you take a few more rounds of breath in this way? If you would prefer to move a little bit differently, maybe sitting into child's pose or moving the hips side to side or in a circle, you can start to experiment a little bit with the movement of the body coordinated with the breath. Good. And there is no rush, but when you are ready, let's go ahead and make our way into downward facing dog, pushing into the floor, hands and feet, lifting the hips up, and lifting at the belly, navel to spine. Allow your neck to relax here as best you can. Feel into your breath. Maintaining the basic structure and container of your downward dog.
but then allowing the breath to move you from the inside out, inviting a little bit of space and opening. Good. Take one more breath here. And bend into your knees, look forward. You can step or hop forward toward the top of your mat. Elongate the spine on the in-breath, coming to that halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Good. One more time like that. Inhale, extend forward, head to tail. Exhale, fold, and bring it in. Good. Anchor the feet. Let's come all the way up to standing. Stretch up, reach tall. Stay here for an extra breath with the arms reaching up. Lift up a little bit more through the heart and start to reach slightly back behind you, opening the front body. And then exhale, hands together, heart center. Moving with the breath, arms reach back up on inhale, lengthen. Exhale, dive forward and fold. Uttanasana, forward fold. Extending the spine, so lift forward, halfway lift, lengthen through the crown. Exhale, fold back in. And all the way back up to standing. So that reverse swan dive. Feel your breath as it lifts you up. Exhale, hands once again come together at the heart. Good, you guys. Arms back up on inhale. Reach up tall and open. Exhale, dive forward. Folding it in. Lengthen up, halfway lift on the in-breath, spinal extension. Let's plant the hands to the floor and make our way to plank, upper push-up. Hold here for just a moment. And you always have that option of coming down to the knees or going directly to down dog. If you'd like to move through a Chaturanga here, shift the body forward just a little bit. Exhale, lower down, hug elbows in, belly down to the floor, point the toes, and inhale to a little cobra pose. Let's stay for an extra breath as we draw the heart and the ribs forward, sternum lifted. And then exhale, press it back to downward facing dog. Good. Take another full breath here. Bend your knees, look forward toward the top of the mat, step or hop forward. Lengthen out your spine, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Good. All the way back up to standing, reach up tall, open through the heart, and then hands together. Heart center. Take the arms back up as you inhale. And then exhale, bend the knees, sitting into chair pose. Utkatasana, extending through the arms. Feel your feet grounded. Continue to draw the thighs back a little bit. Bend the elbows here in chair pose. So you can have a little more space between the shoulders and the ears, and opening through the heart and the front body. Take one more breath, sit just a little bit deeper. Stay in chair, but drop your arms down and clasp the hands behind the back if that's available to you. Pull shoulders back, lift and lengthen up through the heart, through the chest. Take one more breath here. Keep the clasp if you're able and come into a forward fold. The knees can still be a little bit bent. As you breathe here and open up through the shoulders, neck and jaw, heart space. Take one more breath. Let's release the hands toward the floor. Lengthen, halfway lift on the in-breath. Take hands down, step or hop your way back, moving through a Chaturanga if you'd like, lowering down. Open up Cobra or Up Dog on the in-breath, and then exhale, Downward Facing Dog. Send your right leg back. So you're in a three-legged downward dog. Reaching through those toes, lengthen. Bend your right leg, lift up through the hip. So stack that right hip over the left. Take an extra breath here. And then step your right foot through for either Warrior One or High Lunge. So what that means is that you have the option of grounding your back heel for Warrior One or keeping it lifted. But you're in a fairly deep lunge on that right leg. And as you inhale, stretch up tall. As you exhale, bend your elbows, similar to how we did this in chair pose. Stay in that lunge, lean back a little bit, opening through the heart and the front body. One more breath here, and then stretch back up and bring the hands down to the floor. Step to plank pose and shift your weight into your right hand for side plank or Vashisthasana. Pull the hips up, root down through that right hand, palm and pads of the fingers. Pull hips up a little higher. Take your left arm and stretch it forward alongside the ear. Good. Stay strong. Maybe float your left leg up. Good, you guys. Last breath here. Bring it all the way back. Plank pose, your choice, down dog or chaturanga. Open and lift through the heart, Cobra or Up Dog, Downward Facing Dog. Pause here for a moment and lengthen your left leg back. Reach it up tall. Three-legged down dog. Bend your leg, lift and open through the hip. And take an extra breath here. And then we'll send the left foot through for either Warrior One, grounding the back heel, or High Lunge, keeping that back heel lifted. Either way, the front body is oriented toward the front of the room. As we deepen into that lunge and reach up and stretch tall. Good, you guys. Bend your elbows here, wherever you are, and lean back some, opening through the heart. Last full breath. Let's go ahead and stretch back up. Bring hands down to the floor. Step to plank pose. Shift the weight into the left hand. Vashisthasana, side plank. Pull hips up. Use your core here. Send that right arm forward alongside your ear. And maybe float that right leg up. Good. Last one. All the way back, plank pose, chaturanga, or directly to downward facing dog. Good, you guys. Come down to your knees here, coming into just a tabletop hands and knees position with a neutral spine. Keeping that strong core connection, I'd like for you to extend the right arm forward and the left leg back behind you. Let's pause here for a moment and just breathe. Imagine the right fingertips reaching as far forward as they can, left toes back, at the same time hugging in toward that midline. Last breath here, strong and steady. Exhale, pull right elbow to left knee, do a little crunch. Inhale, stretch it back out. Exhale, pull it in. And inhale, reach back out. And last one of these, exhale, pull it in. Inhale, reach back out. Bend your left leg. Reach the right hand back, grab a hold of the foot. Kick in to the hand as we draw the right shoulder back, opening the heart. 2 more full breaths here. Good. Now we're going to go ahead and release the foot, re-extend the arm and the leg. Bring the right hand down, but keep the left leg in the air. Kick your right toes over just a little bit and send the left arm up. So left leg parallel with the ground. Stretch your left arm forward alongside the ear, either keeping it here or bending the left leg, reaching back for the foot. Kick into the hand and open through the heart. Good, you guys. 2 more breaths here. Release the foot, re-extend. Bring it back to all fours. Come down to your forearms. Yes, I said forearms. For Dolphin Pose. I noticed a little hesitancy. What'd you say? Okay, Dolphin Pose. Tuck your toes, pick up your knees. Breathe here. Good. Utilize your core. So rather than just holding this all in your arms, shoulders, and neck, lift at the belly, draw navel to spine, direct the tailbone up, maybe tiptoe forward a little bit toward your face. Good, you guys. Let's take about 3 more breaths here. Good. Come on down to your knees. Instead of child's pose, you're going to come forward and all the way down to the belly. And take the arms back along your sides. And on your next in-breath, lift arms and legs up away from the floor, coming into Locust Pose. Shoulders pull toward one another on the back, active through the hands and through the feet. Put a little bend in your elbows and really try to squeeze toward that midline. 2 more breaths here as you lift up. And exhale, release. Stretch your right arm out to the right, coming into a shoulder pigeon. So you're going to roll over to that right side. The left knee can point up. And you could reach back and grab a hold of that left foot for a half bow here. If you've got a hold of the foot, see if you can kick into the hand for a little extra opening. If that feels like it's too much, then back off. Last breath here. Good. Release out of that. Come back to your belly. And press up to hands and knees. And we're going to take 3 big circles with the hips going clockwise. Good. You guys find your way back to center, back to neutral. Strong core connection here. Left arm will extend forward, right leg back behind you. Spinal balance. Pull toward that center line as you reach actively in those equal and opposite directions. Take another strong breath here. And then on your next exhale, pull left elbow toward your right knee. Little crunch. Inhale, stretch it back out as long as you can go. Exhale, pull it in. Good. Inhale, reach back out. Exhale, last time, pull it in. Good. Re-extend. Bend your right leg. Reach the left hand back. Grab a hold of the foot with the hand. Kick into the hand, pulling the left shoulder back, opening up through the heart. A couple more breaths here. Good. And then let's release the foot to re-extend. Keep the right leg where it is. Left hand comes down. Kick the left foot over a little bit. Right arm will stretch up. Take the right arm forward alongside the ear. Bend your right leg. Reach back and grab the foot this way. So kick into the hand, pulling the shoulder back and opening up through the heart. Couple more breaths. Good. And then release out of that. Re-extend. Come back to all fours and drop down to the forearms for one more dolphin pose. Whoa, you guys are grumpy about that. Okay, so I didn't make you hold it very long the first time, so I'm just going to revisit it for a moment. Pick up your knees, tiptoe forward. Again, feel for that core connection, the quality of your breath. Send your right leg into the air this time. Let's take 2 or 3 breaths with the right leg reaching. Good, you guys, awesome. And then switch. So right foot goes down, left leg reaches up. Perfect. Now bring the left foot back. Take 3 more breaths just in your regular dolphin pose. Keep the elbows and the forearms reined in. Maintain your container. Strong and lifted at your core. Beautiful, you guys. Come on down to your knees. And then you're going to come all the way to your belly, just as we did before. Reach your arms back along your sides. Or this time around, you might clasp your hands behind the back for locust. Shoulders back and lift up through the heart, through the chest. Legs lifted. Doesn't matter how high your legs are. In fact, sometimes when we lift them too high, we can kind of aggravate the low back. So think about reaching behind you rather than up. Shoulders back, lift through your chest. 2 more breaths. Release. Left hand out to the left. Shoulder pigeon. So roll over to your left side. The right knee can point up. Or maybe you reach and grab a hold of your right foot. If you've got the foot, kick back, creating a little bit of engagement there and energy, opening through the heart. Good. Let's release and bring it back to the belly. Come back up to hands and knees. And let's take 3 big circles here with the hips going counterclockwise. Good. As you make your way back to center, back to neutral, let's go ahead and come back to downward facing dog. Good. Take another full breath here. Bend your knees and look forward, step or hop toward the top of your mat. Lengthen out spine on your in-breath, and exhale, fold. Back up to standing on your inhale, so let's stretch up, reach tall and open, and then hands together in front of the heart. Good. So you guys, if you happen to have a block, grab that. I know some of you don't, and that's okay. Just make believe, pretend that you did. So if you've got the block, we're going to bring it between the thighs, the skinniest width, the feet about hip bone distance apart. So even if you don't have a block, imagine those inner thighs still hugging in toward one another, toward that midline. So in your next in-breath, let's stretch up tall. Interlace the fingers up top. And then draw index fingers up toward the ceiling. Continue to squeeze around your block as you root down through the inner and outer edges of the feet. Stretch up, and then let's come up and over to the right. So you're opening up the left ribs and side body. Continue to squeeze around your block. You can shift your hips a little bit. Maybe take your right arm down along your side, or bring your hand to your hip for a little support. Take one more full breath here, lengthening through that side body. Good. Bring it back upright. Interlace fingers. Continue to squeeze around the block. Reach up. And over to your left. So same thing here. Lengthening through the right ribs and side body. Squeeze the block if you've got it. Shift your hips a little bit. And then maybe take this left arm down along your side or hand to hip. Take an extra breath here. Reach up and over. And then bring it back up. Stretch up tall. And then exhale. Take the arms down. Good. So we're going to bring the hands to the low back. I'm going to turn this direction so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Fingertips pointing down toward the glutes. Or if you can, if you have enough flexibility in your wrist, you could actually turn fingertips up and continue to squeeze shoulder blades and elbows toward one another. You can experiment a little bit with that. Continue to hug around the block. Pull shoulder blades toward one another. Push down toward the glutes, lengthening the low back. Lift up through the heart. Maybe that's your pose. You can hang out there, opening the front body. Or you can start to lean a little bit deeper into this standing back bend. Squeeze the block, support the low back, lean back, take 2 more breaths here. Good, and then bring it back up, and nice and easy, just ease into your forward fold. You can remove your block if you've been using the block. Good, a couple more breaths here. If it feels good to come to Ragdoll Pose, or slide the hands underneath your feet, or sway side to side, you can work with that. Good. And then release, if you haven't already, hands toward the floor. Flat back as you inhale. And then plant your hands. Let's take a step or hop back. Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog on that exhale. Extend your right leg back, everybody. Reach it up tall. Bend your right leg open through the hip. And step it through for Warrior 2 position. So we're going to ground that back heel. Fairly deep lunge here and extending out through the arms. Breathe. Good. See if you can really focus here your gaze, your drishti, just beyond your right fingertips. Take one more strong breath here. Deepen into that lunge a little bit. And then exhale, arms come down. Clasp the hands behind the back. Shoulders draw back, lift the chest up, and dive forward into ostrich, or this humble warrior. You can always release your clasp and plant your hands to the floor for a little more support. Good. Taking one more breath here. Good. Come back upright. Back to warrior two. Straighten up your right leg for triangle. So we're going to lengthen and reach the body and the fingertips forward. Right hand down toward the shin or block or ankle. Left arm stretching up. Good. Broaden your wingspan here, reaching from right fingertips to left fingertips. If it's helpful, you can even turn your gaze up past your left hand. Take another full breath here, create a little more space. Gaze down at the floor and set up for Ardha Chandrasana or half moon. So you're going to come into a balance. Either keeping it where it is or working today with half bow. Bending the left leg, reaching back, grabbing a hold of the foot with the hand and opening here through the heart. Good, you guys, 2 more breaths here. Kick that foot into the hand if you've got it. Let go of the foot. Bring the left hand down. Step all the way back to plank. Your choice, down dog or move through that chaturanga. Cobra or upward dog, and then downward facing dog. Good. Go ahead and come down to your knees. And come to an upright kneeling position on your mat. We're going to set up for Camel Pose or Ustrasana. So if your knees are a little bit sensitive, you could double or even triple up the front edge of your mat and place your knees on the mat, or if you have a blanket, you can do that as well. If you have a block and you found the block helpful in our standing back bend, you could place the block between the thighs just as a reminder to hug in toward that center. I like to tuck my toes under, but that position of the foot is up to you. Hands to the low back. Squeeze inner thighs around the block, or at least toward that center line. Same thing we did in our standing back bend. Shoulder blades and elbows pull toward one another. Push down toward the glutes. Lift up through the heart. Breathe here. You can start to lean back a little bit, and maybe hands to heels or ankles, shifting the hips forward, lifting the sternum up, and leaning back a little bit. Wherever you are, take 2 more giant breaths into the heart and the fronts of the shoulders. Lift. And then if your hands are on your heels, hands come back to the low back. Power through the legs to ease the body back upright. Good. So if you've got the block, remove it, and you're going to come into puppy pose. So hips stay over the knees. Walk the hands forward and let your forehead rest on the mat. This is or heart chakra pose. So you can think about toward the earth. Some of you might even be able to look forward, gaze, and come to the chin. Good. Take one more breath here. And then you'll make your way back up. And then back to a downward facing dog. And take your time to get there. Good, everybody. Lengthen your left leg back. Stretch it up. Bend your leg and open through the hip. Left foot will step through for a warrior two position. And so feel your feet underneath you and extend out through the arms. Strong through the legs and the lower body. Breathe here. And if you're able, just shift your gaze forward beyond the left fingertips for a couple more breaths. Good. Last one here. Maybe deepen into that lunge. Feel your legs. Exhale the arms down and clasp the hands behind you. So we'll pull the shoulders back, lift the chest up. And then dive forward into that ostrich pose. A little shoulder stretch here, opening the hips. Continue to pull back through the thighs as the head and the neck relax down. Good. Take another breath or two here. Awesome. Make your way back upright and re-extend out through the arms. Straighten up that left leg. Triangle pose, Utthita Trikonasana. Reach forward, left hand down, right arm stretches up. And again, broadening our wingspan here, left fingertips to right fingertips, opening through the heart and the front body. And think about leading this pose with the heart, opening up just one more degree toward the ceiling, toward the sky. Good. Last breath here. Gazing down the floor. Coming into Ardha Chandrasana or half moon, shifting forward onto that left foot. Finding your balance here, the left foot rooted. You can keep it here, or maybe you work with that half bow, reaching back, finding the right foot, this time with the right hand, kicking into the hand and opening through the shoulder and the front body. 2 more breaths here. Nice, you guys. Let that go. If you've got the foot, bring it back. Step all the way back to plank pose. Hug toward that midline, Chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Good, you guys. Come back down to your knees. And let's set up one more time for camel. All right, so same options, patting a little bit through the fronts of your knees, maybe, or tops of your knees, maybe use a block between the thighs. Toes can tuck under, or if you want to move a little bit deeper this time, you can point the feet toenail side down. So shoulders and elbows hug toward one another, lift the chest, strong legs, lean back. So don't just dump into your low back. See if you can move from that mid and upper back as well. Maybe reach back to your feet. And as you do that, what helps me is to push my hands into my feet, to push the hips forward and telescope up through the torso, through the rib cage, through the heart. 2 more breaths. And then hands support the low back. Power through the legs to bring the body upright. The head is the last thing to come up. And then go ahead and shift into that puppy pose once again. So knees or hips over the knees, walk your hands forward, forehead down. Maybe melt the heart and come to the chin. Good, last breath here. I'd like for you to make your way back to your hands and your knees. And extend the right arm out and up. Thread the needle. Right arm underneath your left. Good. Take one more full breath here. And we'll unwind out of that and send the arm back and up. Bring it back to the floor. And left arm stretches up long and lengthened. Exhale, thread the needle. And opening up into this left shoulder, upper back, side of the neck. Good. Last one here. And let's unwind out of that. Send the left arm back out and reach. And bring the left hand to the floor. So let's go ahead and make our way onto our backs, everybody, and we're going to set up for bridge pose. And so grounding through the feet, you can bring the arms down and just kind of check in with the placement of your feet, the fingertips barely touching the backs of the heels. And bending the elbows into that robot arm position. And let's press shoulder blades and back of the head toward the floor. Anchor the feet. Before you lift the pelvis, really lift up through your heart. Puff up through your chest. Keep that lifted. And then push through your feet, lift the pelvis without dropping the heart down. Sometimes it's helpful to have a block here in between the thighs, as we've been doing, or underneath the pelvis for support. Continue to breathe here. Root down through the back of your head, your feet to the floor, and see if you can lift up a little bit more through the back of the heart. 2 more strong breaths here. Good. Lower back down. Instead of hugging the knees in, just stretch your legs out to neutralize and reach the arms up and back. Lengthen from top to bottom. And then bring the arms back down. And we're going to come into one more back bend of choice. And I'm going to talk you through a full wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana. But you could stick with bridge, or you could come back up and do camel again, or come onto the belly and do Dhanurasana or bow. Okay, so one more back bend of choice. So if you're working with full wheel, bring your feet back to the floor as though you're setting up for bridge. Bend your elbows the same way we did before, robot arms. Push and lift up through your chest before you lift your pelvis. Keep that heart lifted, keeping that spine in extension, lifting the pelvis up without sinking the heart down. So we start with bridge, and then we're going to actually bring the hands to the floor next to the ears with the fingertips pointing toward the shoulders. And you could even take your hands just a little bit wider if that's helpful. Notice that the shoulders have a tendency to pull up away from the floor. See if you can pull the shoulders back, lifted. Come up out to the top of the head and rest there for a moment, maybe even turning the hands out some. And then push into the floor with both hands and lift off of the mat, opening up the chest into this full wheel Urdhva Dhanurasana. For about 3 more breaths. Good. Heart wide open, you guys. Last one here. And lower back down. And let's pull the knees back in toward the chest. A little bit of gentle rocking side to side and release through the low back. Good. You can reach and grab a hold of your feet for a happy baby pose. Good. And then bring your feet back together. Now, if shoulder stand and plow pose would feel amazing to you, you can work with those. Or you can just start to move into a spinal twist to wind this down. Okay, so if you're working with shoulder stand, you lift the pelvis up, support the hips here with the hands, and maybe take the legs overhead for plow pose. And it's not for everybody, but if that's for you, then you can work with that counter pose. Good, that looks great, everybody. Take your time here as we start to wind this down. If you haven't yet come into a spinal twist, you can finish up with that. And you can settle into Shavasana, corpse pose. And feeling here your physical body grounded and being held by the earth. And coming into this place of surrender and letting go. Heartbreak is unpreventable. The natural outcome of caring for people and things over which we have no control, of holding in our affections those who inevitably move beyond our line of sight. Heartbreak begins the moment we are asked to let go, but cannot. In other words, it colors and inhabits and magnifies each and every day. Heartbreak is not a visitation, but a path that human beings follow through even the most average life. Heartbreak is an indication of our sincerity in a love relationship, in a life's work, in trying to learn a musical instrument, in the attempt to shape a better, more generous self. You begin to expand your breath here and move the body in a way that feels good to you. And we're going to shift over to our side for a moment. And come back up to your seat on your mat. And as you inhale, extend the arms all the way up. And hands together at heart center. Beautiful practice, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And we'll finish with one round of Om. Take a full breath in. Namaste.